ISRO strips history with successful launch of its 100th mission, places second generation navigation satellite in orbit. A US court temporarily blocks President Donald Trump's freeze on funding for federal aid programs after Trump's order triggers nationwide chaos and confusion. Congo's M23 rebels take control of Goma airport. Embassies attacked in the capital. And India's Gukesh takes the sole lead in the 9th round of the Tata Steel Chess Tournament in Netherlands, which is 4 rounds remaining. The Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO, has achieved a historic milestone with the successful launch of its 100th mission from Sriharikota, carrying the NVS-2 satellite into the orbit. Here's more.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
The Indian Space Research Organisation achieved a remarkable milestone on Wednesday with the successful launch of its 100th mission from Sriharikota. The GSLV F-15 rocket carrying the NVS-02 satellite lifted off from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in the South Indian state of Andhra Pradesh.
I am extremely happy to announce from the spaceport of ISRO that the first launch of this year, 2025, has been successfully accomplished.
GSLV F-15 very successfully executed its mission by placing the NVS-02 satellite into its precise geostationary transfer orbit. We mark a historic milestone, the 100th mission from Sriharikota, the spaceport of India.
The NVS-02 satellite is a navigation satellite equipped with payloads in L1, L5 and S bands, as well as a ranging payload in C band. With a lift-off mass of 2,250 kilograms and power handling capability of approximately 3 kilowatts, NVS-02 is designed to enhance India's indigenous navigation with Indian Constellation or NAVIC system.
Coming to NVS-02, it is the second satellite in the second generation of the navigation satellite series, NVS series, for the NAVIC constellation. Similar to its predecessor NVS-01, it has an indigenous atomic clock, which will showcase our capability in this very, very critical technology. Also, it has L1 band navigation signal, along with the heritage L5 and S signals. It will expand and widen our navigation services. The main mission objective of NVS-02 is to provide position, navigation and timing services for the Indian mainland and 1,500 kilometers surrounding it.
The NAVIC system is India's answer to global navigation satellite systems. It provides crucial position, velocity and timing services. ISRO's 100th launch from Sriharikota marks a significant achievement for the space agency. Since its first launch in 1979, ISRO has come a long way, achieving numerous historic milestones.
So this launch, this 100th launch by GSLV placing NVS-02 is going to significantly enhance the PNT services in the country and is going to contribute a lot to the science and technology. Again, it is a significant milestone for us, demonstrating our commitment for self-reliance and indigenous development.
The Indian Space Research Organisation has demonstrated its capabilities in launching satellites, spacecraft and other payloads into the orbit, and has established itself as a major player in the global space community. With inputs from Anabarsan Elango, Antara Sinha for DD India.
NVS-02 mission accomplished.
And DD India correspondent Anbarasan Elango spoke to ISRO Chief V. Narayanan after the historic launch. The chief of the organization threw light on the journey of the space agency from 1979 and elaborated on the latest GSLV F-15 launch.
ISRO has successfully launched the 100th mission. So what about the humble start from the 1979? We have reached right to the 100th mission.
No, it is a great starting. 1979, we had the first SLV-3 launch. After that, we have developed generations of launches, including ASLV, PSLV, GSLV, GSLVM3, SSLV. And with all these things, we have accomplished this mission. And through this rocket launches, we have accomplished important missions like Chandrayaan 1, Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 3, Mars Orbiter landing mission, Mars Orbiter mission, and placing 104 satellite in a single mission, accomplishing space recovery experiment. Like a lot of things are done. Not only that, communication satellites, navigation satellites, remote sensing satellite, satellite for disaster warning and management, satellite for earth observation, satellite for resource management. Lot of things have been done through this 100.
The Union Cabinet recently cleared the third launch for the Sriharikota.
No, third launch pad is meant for sending the next generation launcher, which is 1000 kg lift-off mass, 91 meter height rocket. Also for improving the frequency of launch of the LBM-3 rocket, plus for future human spaceflight program. So that already we got approval. In 4 years, we are going to complete the project.
And we're now joined by our DD India correspondent, Anbarasan Elango, live from Chennai. Anbarasan, if you could take us through how this milestone of the 100th launch was achieved by ISRO.
Very good afternoon, Subhendu. The day starts with a very happy and also the successful launch of GSLV F-15 NVS-2 mission, the first launch of this year. And ISRO has came a long way, as the report has mentioned. From 1979, with a humble start, we have achieved this level with a PSLV, SSLV and GSLV, and we are also NGLV that was going to launch in the future, the third launch pad, which is recently cleared by the Union Cabinet. So the level of significant that ISRO is achieving various level. Few months of this month earlier, the SpaceX mission is successfully done. So we have created that Bharati docking system, and this is today mission is focusing on the the navigation system for Indian constellation, which is focusing on indigenous navigation system, focusing on various terrestrial, aerial and also maritime navigation. So focusing on that, and recently also 2023 we did our NVS-1 mission, and this is upgradation on that level. And the ISRO chairman Narayan said that the Union government has given immense importance to various projects, particularly the launching pad, which is going to be completed in next 4 years in Sriharikota, and also there is a small launching site in the Kulasekharapatnam. So upcoming projects, and also particularly focusing on the startups. He also mentioned in the press conference that nearly 250 startups the ecosystem has created for the private sector also can involve in various capabilities to take a technology on a space, and also the future missions like Chandrayaan 4 and Gaganyaan, and also building a Bharati Antrik station. So kind of a overlay, creating a total pattern for that. So the ambition to become one of the leaders. Right. We are also pioneering various technologies in the Indian space sector. So kind of boost towards this 100th launch. From a start of that 1979 and reaching this level, get immense support from the various Indian scientists, fraternity, and also the government and also the public. So we are achieved this level. So it's a kind of a joy moment for the Indian space technology.
Anbarasan, thank you for joining us with those updates. And to learn more about the importance of the launch by ISRO, we're now joined by Dr. S.V. Sharma, former Deputy Director, ISRO. Good afternoon and welcome to DD India, sir. Now,
good afternoon. Yeah.
Welcome, sir. So, how do you see the significance of this 100th launch? ISRO indeed has come a long way from the humble beginnings to one of the leading spacefaring agencies in the world.
Yes, and good afternoon to you and good afternoon to every citizen of this country. And I should congratulate every citizen of this country who are watching this, and that is in large, and specifically ISRO to make this country proud. That is number one. As far as achievements are concerned, there are at least 5 to 6 achievements which I would like to list it for you and the viewers today. First one is the launch, the 100th launch. If you see the 100th launch, out of this 100 launch, 62 launch had been through PSLV, the Polar Sun Synchronous Launch Vehicle, 62 launches, and 16 of GSLV, that is Geosynchronous Launch Vehicle, and F-15 is one of them. And we had seven of the Mark III launches and SLV, ASLV, like that, it has come to 100. If you see the vehicle itself is about 50 meters high and weighing about 420 tons. This 50-meter high, please imagine that it's about 150 feet. It is about 17 to 18 storied building that you can imagine, and a weight of 420 kgs. Is a massive vehicle which has lifted 2,200 kg of NAVIC satellite into the orbit. It's a massive achievement, and more so, the biggest, that is the first and the biggest point which I wanted to make a mention. Second point is that this particular vehicle, the GSLV vehicle, is carrying the indigenous cryogenic engine. This is the 8th successful indigenous cryogenic engine, which needs a special and specific mention, because cryogenic engine technology, what was denied to this country, the country has achieved it, and this 8th time it has been successfully done it. This is the second thing. Third is these 100 launch vehicles. A special mention is required regarding the number of satellites that these rockets carried. It has carried more than 540 satellites into the orbit. Please note that we have carried more than 540 satellites into this orbit. Out of this, a special mention regarding the satellite from the other countries. More than 350 satellites are from the other countries, where it had been a sort of a business arrangement, and also to encourage many of these institutions, startups, and the community which needs encouragement. So these are all really something which we necessarily need to mention. These are all the three major things which I thought I should talk about this rocket.
Right. Dr. Sharma, if I can just bring attention to also specifically the mission today, the launch of the NAVIC satellite part of the navigation with Indian constellation. How is that significant in terms of India's presence in the space?
Oh, these navigation satellites are really, really extremely important. If you, from the point of view, I may not be able to elaborate much on the strategic sector, because it is strategic sector is really strategic sector, which needs the support of navigation systems. Whenever we have to depend on ourselves, and whenever we should not depend on others, from the strategic point of view, a country had made navigation satellite program. In the initial program, we made about constellation of 7 satellites. Okay, what we call as IRNSS, Indian Regional Remote Navigational System, was established, and 7 satellite constellation was made, and totally 9 satellites were launched, keeping in mind the replacement of those satellites, and which really served this country from the point of view of the location accuracy, position accuracy, and also the connectivity. That is the navigation in the land, air, and sea. This is the first and major important thing. Please remember that for the navigation purposes, for the land, sea, and air navigation purposes, it is essential that the country should depend on itself and more than anybody else. This is one part. In the second part is the navigation satellite system number 2, where the new navigation system has been augmented with L1, L5, and S-band. Really, really important to have L1, L5, and S-band from the point of view of giving this entire country a coverage of the navigation, the accurate timing, accurate positioning. And I can tell you that at many of the positions, the navigation satellites are much better even than compared to the GPS, which is there, which we are all using. But these satellites could be really, really much better in performance compared to even the existing GPS or GLONASS or any other satellite system. And this is the most significant part of the navigation system.
Okay. Dr. Sharma, also coming back to the points that you were mentioning earlier, for a layperson viewer, one can see the efficiency with which ISRO operates. It almost seems effortless, the manner in which the rocket is launched and the mission is accomplished. But you mentioned about the particular challenges with the GSLV launch vehicle, given the size, given the orbit characteristics. Could you simplify for us why this mission was also very challenging in its execution?
Basically, if you see this particular rocket is about 50 meters height. That is about 160 feet height. In that, it carries a fuel of about 420 tons of the weight, and most of it is the fuel. And the first stage, where you have the central core and the four strap-ons, that contributes to the 80% of the weight of the rocket. That is, we have to lift it out of the Earth's field of gravity, and you have to escape at the speed of 8 kilometers per second. Then only you will be able to escape. Therefore, 75% of the fuel is burned. Next stage comes the second stage of the GSLV vehicle, where it consumes about 10% of the weight. It's about 10 tons, and which lifts the rocket to the next higher level. But the most important, and the most efficient engine, which is there in this, is the cusp engine, what we call it as, the cryogenic upper stage is something which is really, really crucial. And with the technology is not available to any, to any other country, something like a developing country or anything like that. The country has developed it right from the scratch. Please believe me, every part of this rocket, every part of this satellite are being developed in this country from the scratch, from the drawing board till the finish. And it has to go through the cycle of, testing, retesting, and making it perfect and making it to this level. I'm telling you, the technology is, is challenging. And technology is power. And ISRO has proved more than once that the space technology has really made the country proud and made the country powerful, as well as, what we call it as the technology's power is really true as far as the space technology is concerned.
There, ISRO has proved its excellence once again. Dr. S.V. Sharma, thank you very much for joining us on DD India and sharing your perspective. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Talk about the Mahakumbh underway in Prayagraj. India is gearing up for Union Budget 2025. And on the weather front, western disturbances are expected to affect western Himalayan region.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. And now, all about the Mahakumbh, the largest gathering of devotees anywhere on the planet. Millions of devotees continue to visit Prayagraj to take holy dip on the auspicious occasion of Mauni Amavasya on Wednesday. Authorities have issued an advisory asking all devotees to treat the ghats as equal to the Sangam and avoid any rush or misinformation of any kind. Elaborate security and crowd management systems are in place at the Mela site to assist the devotees. Traffic advisory of the police is also in place for Prayagraj to ensure proper crowd management. Meanwhile, a mishap has been reported from Kumbh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and is continuously monitoring the situation.
ये जो भारी दबाव श्रद्धालु जनों के कारण और श्रद्धालुओं के संगम नोच पर जाने के कारण वहाँ पर एक बना हुआ है, लेकिन पूरा प्रशासन मौके पे वहाँ मौजूद है। लगातार प्रशासन स्थानीय स्तर पर श्रद्धालुओं की सकुशल स्नान कराने के से रात्रि को कल सायंकाल 6:30-7 बजे से ही मौनी अमावस्या का मुहूर्त प्रारंभ होने के बाद से ही लगातार लगा हुआ है।
And President of India, Draupadi Murmu, in a social media post on X, expressed her sadness at the tragedy at Mahakumbh. She expressed her condolences to the families of the injured devotees and wished for speedy recovery of all the injured ones. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a social media post on X, termed the tragedy that took place in Prayagraj Mahakumbh as extremely sad. He expressed his deepest condolences to the devotees who have lost their loved ones and wished speedy recovery of all the injured. His post on social media further says that local administration is engaged in helping the victims in every possible way, and he himself is in touch with state government by speaking to Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Unquote. India is gearing up for Budget 2025. The Indian industry has high expectations for policy support, fiscal incentives and structural reforms to drive economic growth and resilience. My colleague Shyama Mishra reports from Mumbai.
Industry stakeholders expect a progressive budget that prioritizes economic expansion, technological advancements, and environmental sustainability. They anticipate well-structured policies that will not only stimulate business growth, but also foster a conducive ecosystem for digital transformation and green initiatives. Sanjay Amariwala, president of IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, says that he is expecting that this budget will maintain consistency in policies. He also expects simplification of procedures, as ease of doing business is a significant area for India and it should be made a prime agenda in all government departments.
Fundamentally, what we look for is maintaining some consistency in policies. Let's not make too many changes every year. Year on year, changes don't spell well for a developed economy. Ease of doing business is a very significant area for India. I think we need to focus on that and make simplification of procedures and ease of doing business a prime agenda for all departments of the government.
Applauding the production-linked incentive scheme, he says it has given great results and there is a need to step up the manufacturing. There should be inclusion of more sectors in PLI, he adds.
I think PLI has given us great results and we need to step up our manufacturing capability and capacities significantly. I think incentivizing companies through PLI is an excellent scheme and it's giving great results. It should include more sectors under PLI.
Anant Goenka, Senior Vice President of FICCI, says boosting domestic consumption and addressing inflationary pressures is a key area that demands attention in this budget. He recommends time-bound consumption e-vouchers for lower and middle-income families to stimulate discretionary spending.
A key focus area that demands immediate attention is boosting domestic consumption and addressing inflationary pressures. We recommend introducing time-bound consumption e-vouchers for lower and middle-income families to stimulate discretionary spending. To combat food inflation, we also propose establishing a food inflation response and strategy team under the PMO's authority.
A balanced approach, one that upholds fiscal discipline while simultaneously encouraging bold investments in innovation and infrastructure, will be instrumental in shaping India's long-term economic trajectory. The Budget 2025 holds the potential to strengthen India's position as a key player in the global economic landscape, ensuring sustainable prosperity for businesses and citizens alike. Shyama Mishra's report for DD India.
Now let's connect with Shyama live from India's financial capital, Mumbai. Shyama, we just saw your report. If you could put in perspective the budget expectations of the industry and individual taxpayers.
There, Shubhendu, you've mentioned it that the first expectation is obviously from the individual taxpayers and everybody from the person who's earning to the corporate. Everyone expects that there should be a better change for them in the tax bracket and how they pay their taxes should be also lowered. So that is one major expectation. Apart from that, you have already seen that the continuity in policy should always be there, and that is what is expected from the industry. Whatever the decisions or announcements were there last year, it should continue, and if there are improvements, there should be improvements, but too much of tweaking should be avoided is what is expected by the industry. Apart from that, we are understanding that India is now moving towards the net zero and more towards sustainability. So more funding, more allocation towards the green funds is also expected. More investments into the new and renewable energy sources should be there, because the transition from the conventional to the green and renewable energy sources is expected, and more money in terms of investment, technology is expected. We are also hearing that various sectors, including agriculture, startups, health, education, these are also expecting a lot of allocation, a lot of funding and better policies over there. Apart from these, the industry is demanding that there should be a rationalization in GST so that the structure is made easy, and also on some goods or some services, the GST amount, the GST tax which is there, the percentage should also come down so that people have more money in their hand and that disposable income goes towards the economy, and then the economic growth can also be spurred. So overall, we could say that with each year's budget, people's expectations, they are always high. They always remain, that something or the other good comes in their kitty. And let's hear it this year from Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, who will be presenting her 8th budget and in a digital format. So a lot of expectations right from the youth to the bigger corporates and everyone in the country. Shubhendu.
Shyama, thank you for joining us with those updates. In Kolkata, manufacturing, export and industry sectors are nourishing high hopes, expectations that this time Union Budget will announce measures which will further cater growth and development of the economy. DD India's Anibrata Bhattacharya spoke to industry veterans in the city.
General budget for 2025-26 is in the offing. All-round expectations are evolving with it. Export and manufacturing sector want that the government gives further impetus to Make in India project.
Let me be very honest, the world is looking at India, and this is the golden period for us to be the global manufacturing hub. We are IT powerhouse, and now with the geopolitical scenario, I think the world is looking with us with much bigger expectations, and with right policy in place and support with the government in terms of enabling environment on competitive policies, we can make a leapfrog in manufacturing. I will give our current share in the world trade is not to the expected level, and we can make a quantum jump.
My expectation of the forthcoming budget is that it's going to be very, very bold in its outlook. The government is bent upon improving the economy, and the Prime Minister has made a declaration that India will be the 3rd largest economy in the coming 2 years. That will give impetus to a lot of new initiatives by the government of India. And when you talk about startups, there is a tremendous possibility. A lot of Indian boys and girls and executives who have worked in the US and Western countries, they are also anxious to come back and start their projects in India.
While it's quite interesting that the people in general and industry want that the central government this time gives more impetus to startup sector. This is Anibrata Bhattacharya for DD India from Kolkata.
With the Delhi Assembly elections approaching, the campaign is gaining momentum as key political leaders hold rallies across the national capital. Prime Minister Modi held rally in Gonda Assembly seat in northeast Delhi, which is one of the 8 constituencies the BJP secured in 2020 elections. Prime Minister stressed that people in Delhi want a double-engine government which will build houses, make Delhi modern and provide tap water to every household. And the Congress party has launched its manifesto for the upcoming Delhi Assembly elections. The manifesto was revealed by party leader Jairam Ramesh. Congress has promised to provide 33% reservation for women in government jobs, along with opening 24-hour dispensary in each ward. They've also promised to open 100 Indira canteens across the national capital, where a plate of meal will cost ₹5. Let's now take a look at other stories making news today. Chief Minister of the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, Mohan Yadav, chaired a meeting with Japan's International Cooperation Agency Senior Vice President Sriharikota, strengthening ties and attracting investment to the state. The Chief Minister showcased Madhya Pradesh's readiness to become a hub for medical device manufacturing, further deepening economic discussions and exploring collaborative opportunities. The Joint Parliamentary Committee, JPC, has accepted the Waqf Amendment Bill draft report and the amended version of the proposed law with a majority vote, as 16 members voted in favour while 11 opposed it. The opposition members have been given time till 4 p.m. today to submit their dissent notes. A family of 4 was rescued 2 days after the Burari building collapse in India's national capital, Delhi, on Wednesday. Several people were trapped under the rubble after a newly constructed 4-story building collapsed on Monday. 2 western disturbances are expected to affect the western Himalayan region, one from Wednesday and the second one from Saturday in the ongoing week. According to the Indian Met Department, this may result in widespread rain or snowfall, likely over western Himalayan region and isolated to scattered rainfall over the adjoining plains. According to IMD, light to moderate rains accompanied by thunderstorms is expected over the states of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Meghalaya for the next couple of days. A rise in temperature by 2 to 4 degrees Celsius over northwest, central and east India during the next 4 days is also forecast. The IMD has also predicted dense fog conditions over northern states of Uttarakhand, Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and sub-Himalayan West Bengal, Sikkim on Wednesday. Similar conditions are also expected for Uttar Pradesh's Gangetic West Bengal, coastal Odisha and Bihar for the next 2 to 3 days. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Update on Donald Trump's immigration enforcement operation. South Korean carrier aired Busan flight caught fire on Tuesday.
Timeless, boundless and infinite, the essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic, world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Mahakumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gukesh. Our top stories. ISRO scripts history with successful launch of its 100th mission, places second-generation navigational satellite in orbit. A US court temporarily blocks President Trump's freeze on funding for federal aid programs after Trump's order triggers nationwide chaos and confusion. Congo's M23 rebels take control of Goma airport, embassies attacked in the capital. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who is on a visit to UAE, met Raisina US-India AI Fellows along with members of Raisina India-US Task Force on Responsible AI in Abu Dhabi on Wednesday. Dr. Jaishankar also interacted with members of the ORF Middle East Think Tank Council in Abu Dhabi. He shared pictures on social media post X. He called the meeting a welcome initiative for fostering greater exchange of ideas and perspectives in the Indian subcontinent and the Middle East region. Moving on, US President Donald Trump's administration has made several significant moves, including offering federal workers a buyout option, cutting transgender healthcare funding, and attempting to freeze federal aid. Executive orders will have dramatic impact on federal agencies, contractors, and grantees, and also sow uncertainty about the voluntary DEI initiative. Let's listen to the details in this report.
President Trump's string of executive orders continue unabated, and they continue to surprise, shock, and create a flutter in political circles and elsewhere. Among the many executive orders addressing wide-ranging areas are two specifically targeted at diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
President Trump is hard at work fulfilling the promises that he made to the American people on the campaign trail. Since taking the oath of office, President Trump has taken more than 300 executive actions, secured nearly $1 trillion in U.S. investments, deported illegal alien rapists, gang members, and suspected terrorists from our homeland, and restored common sense to the federal government.
A new deferred resignation program has been introduced, offering federal employees the option to leave their jobs with a severance package of up to 8 months' pay. Under the program, federal workers would remain on the payroll through September 30th, but wouldn't be required to work. Employees have until Feb 6 to decide whether to participate in the program. Donald Trump also signed an executive order to restrict gender transition procedures for people under the age of 19. The order comes the week after Trump said in his inauguration speech that his government would recognize two genders, male and female. Trump's order said it would now be U.S. policy that it would not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of a child from one sex to another. Meanwhile, in a major legal development, a federal judge has temporarily blocked President Trump's attempt to freeze hundreds of billions of dollars in federal aid. The court has scheduled a review of the case for Monday. The White House press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, said that the funding pause was temporary in nature and said the administration would provide a list of affected programs later.
This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that.
Federal spending includes more than $3 trillion in financial assistance like grants and loans in fiscal year 2024, all of which was approved by Congress. Bureau Report, DD India.
And US President Donald Trump has kicked in a major change to the way press briefings are organized in the White House. Accreditations have been so far reserved for the correspondents of leading news networks in both print and television. Now, Team Trump has decided to add podcasters and TikTokers to the exclusive list as well.
There is a change that many thought was sure to come. Donald Trump's new press secretary has invited podcasters to apply for White House press passes. Karoline Leavitt's first interaction with the media grabbed instant headlines as she announced additional seat for new media voices. The seat has been reserved at the front of the cramped briefing room. President Trump credits a series of podcast appearances for aiding his return to the White House.
We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House.
The shakeup was expected after President's son, Donald Trump Jr., talked in November about opening up the press room. The 49 seats in the room are allotted to a number of news organizations that are members of the White House Correspondents Association. The new press secretary also promised to hold reporters accountable for what she said were lies about Trump. Trump sidestepped interviews with some major US TV networks during the election campaign, opting instead to speak to several popular podcasts, including the Joe Rogan Experience. Bureau Report, TD India.
US President Donald Trump's top Homeland Security official, Kristi Noem, joined officers in an immigration enforcement operation that arrested several people in New York City on Tuesday. The Trump administration stepped up immigration arrests in recent days with about 1,000 to 1,200 arrests per day, far above the daily average of some 300 in the fiscal of 2024. The operation in New York involved agents from the ICE's investigative arm known as Homeland Security Investigations, which normally focuses on transnational crime, including human trafficking, child exploitation, and drug smuggling, as well as personnel from Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA. Two Colombian Air Force planes carrying deportees from United States arrived in Bogota on Tuesday, paving the way for US President Donald Trump's administration to lift visa restrictions and other measures on Colombian citizens. One plane flying from San Diego, California, brought 110 Colombians, and the other, which departed from El Paso, Texas, brought 91 people. Colombia's President Gustavo Petro averted an economic disaster over the weekend after diplomats from his government and the US reached a deal on deportation flights in a dispute that had led both countries to threaten tariffs and the US to impose visa measures. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stated on Tuesday that Colombian authorities agreed to all of President Trump's demands regarding the deportation of their nationals.
When President Trump swiftly directed his team to issue harsh and effective sanctions and tariffs on the Colombian government, upon hearing they were denied a U.S. military aircraft full of their own citizens who were deported by this administration. Within hours, the Colombian government agreed to all of President Trump's demands, proving America is once again respected on the world stage.
Moving on, in a rapidly deteriorating situation in Democratic Republic of Congo, the key city of Goma is on the brink of falling to M23 rebels backed by Rwanda. On Wednesday, DRC President Felix Tshisekedi was set to meet with Rwandan President Paul Kagame at an emergency summit in Kenya as international pressure mounts to end the violence. Here's more by DD India's Harshita Oberoi.
The crisis in eastern Congo has reached a critical point. M23 rebel forces, reportedly supported by Rwanda, seized control of Goma's airport, cutting off vital aid supplies to hundreds of thousands of displaced people. M23 is tightening its grip on the provincial capital. The streets are littered with bodies following a brutal offensive that forced Congolese troops into retreat. As violence escalated, protests broke out in the Congolese capital, Kinshasa, with demonstrators storming UN offices and foreign embassies blaming foreign intervention for the unrest. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged an immediate ceasefire and called for all parties to respect the DRC's sovereignty. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urgently spoken with the presidents of Congo and Rwanda, seeking a path to peace. But UN officials warn the crisis, ranging for decades, will not be solved overnight.
The situation in Goma remains tense and rather fluid. M23 forces, we are told, are inside the city, and UN peacekeeping personnel and troops have largely been forced to shelter in their bases.
The United States has urged the UN Security Council to take action against Rwanda and M23 rebels. For the people of Goma, the consequences are devastating. UN officials described the civilian suffering as unimaginable.
The degree of suffering that the population in Goma and its environments is enduring is truly unimaginable.
DRC accuses Rwanda of seeking to profit from the region's rich mineral resources, including gold, cotton, copper, and cobalt. Congo has called for sanctions on Rwanda, but Rwanda continues to deny involvement. From the United Nations Charter to international humanitarian law to human rights, and also the Luanda and Nairobi peace processes, Rwanda has proven time and again that your statements mean absolutely nothing.
I'd like to also recall that Rwanda has always shown restraint
and sought to engage the DRC in dealing with the root causes of insecurity in the region and along our common border.
As gunfire and explosions echoed through the city overnight, thousands of refugees, along with Congolese soldiers seeking asylum, fled across the border into Rwanda. The Rwandan government has opened its doors, processing the influx of refugees, but the future remains uncertain for many. Harshita Oberoy's report for DD India.
And in South Korea, after Jeju aircraft crash just a month ago, investigations are underway to determine the cause of a fire which engulfed a plane in Busan city. The South Korean carrier Air Busan flight caught fire on Tuesday at Kimhae International Airport while preparing to depart to Hong Kong. All 169 passengers and 7 crew members were evacuated, with 7 having minor injuries. The fire service was alerted soon after the fire began inside the plane. And still to come on DD India News Hour. US European tech shares recover some losses from steep DeepSeek Monday sell-off. Trump's crypto czar says intellectual property theft may be at play. World number 6 Novak Djokovic pulls out of Davis Cup match due to injury. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gukesh. Leaders from India and the United Arab Emirates convened in Ras Al Khaimah to strengthen bilateral trade and investment opportunities between the two nations. DD India's Vinod Kumar gets us more.
India and the UAE are strengthening their growing partnership, exploring new avenues for collaboration. In a significant diplomatic and economic gathering, leaders from both nations met in Ras Al Khaimah to further boost bilateral trade and investment. The event saw the presence of Sheikh Saud bin Sakr Al Qasimi, the ruler of Ras Al Khaimah, alongside Indian leaders including Maharashtra's Minister of Industries Uday Samant. During the gathering, several memoranda of understanding were signed between the Ras Al Khaimah Economic Zone and prominent Indian institutions. These agreements aim to enhance industrial cooperation and open doors for expanded business opportunities between the regions. In his address, Sheikh Saud bin Sakr Al Qasimi highlighted the rich history of UAE-India relations, emphasizing their centuries-old ties and shared vision for progress. He reaffirmed the UAE's commitment to creating an environment that supports Indian businesses and professionals.
In our aspiration, we are looking for a several X journeys. I hope Maharashtra will grow as well in a similar fashion, even better fashion. They can grow in the way they have done before India. I think Maharashtra could be actually a beacon of growth for the rest of India, and I still inspire its people, its entrepreneurs to new heights.
While the Indian delegation stressed on states' strong business potential and underscored the natural synergy between India and the UAE as key trade partners.
जो MOU आज हम कर रहे हैं उसका भी फायदा महाराष्ट्र के युवा लोगों को होगा। हम भी महाराष्ट्र की तरफ से ग्वाही देते हैं कि हम भी यहाँ वापस आएंगे, वापस आके हमारी इंडस्ट्री महाराष्ट्र की जो इंडस्ट्रिस्ट है वो यहाँ कैसे आए, उनकी इंडस्ट्री यहाँ कैसे बढ़े और यहाँ के लोग यहाँ के इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट महाराष्ट्र में कैसे आए और महाराष्ट्र की आपके साथ जो रिलेशनशिप है वो जो अभी आज हम बना रहे हैं वो अटूट कैसे रहे। इसके लिए हम प्रयास करेंगे।
Consul General of India, Satish Kumar Sivan, further emphasized Maharashtra's economic significance, noting the state's trajectory towards becoming a $1 trillion economy. The summit served as a testament to the transformation in bilateral relations, with a sharp focus on growing trade ties. Key sectors for collaboration such as tourism, hospitality, manufacturing and renewable energy were explored in plenary sessions. Vinod Kumar's report from Dubai for DD India.
In Sri Lanka, the headline inflation is expected to remain negative in the near term. The country's central bank has said the inflation is expected to gradually rise to the target of 5% by mid of this year. Central bank maintained the overnight policy rate at 8%, emphasizing a balanced approach to support growth while ensuring inflation stabilizes in the coming months. Lower market lending rates have been fueled private sector credit expansion, further supporting economic recovery. The ongoing deflation has been driven by lower electricity tariffs and fuel prices. Improvements are noted in earning from tourism and workers' remittances contributed positively to the external current account during this period. With only weeks left until the federal election in Germany, political parties are campaigning and calling for reforms they think will resonate with the voters. Let's take a look at one proposed reform, which is tightening inheritance tax and reforming wealth tax. For more on how things are currently running, we have DW correspondent Varda Imran in Berlin. Varda, let's start with the inheritance tax. Is Germany strict with that?
Thanks for having me. Much of Germany's billionaires inherited their wealth. Germany has a dynasty-style business sector and properties which are handed down generations. And they avoid paying much tax on it, and they're successful. On paper, the current inheritance law aims to tax 7 to 50% of the inheritance. However, rarely is it in practice. One way to avoid this is to put your wealth in a business or a family company. And so you can abscond this inheritance tax by saying the wealth is invested. Another way is to claim an exemption based on need. So let's say if you're to inherit 26 million euros and you don't have the money to pay the tax to collect this inheritance, then you can claim a need-based exemption. The argument is that you are needy for the money and can't afford the tax. So there are various loopholes that allow the ultra-rich to avoid paying inheritance tax. And sometimes what they do pay is very little, to the tune of 1 to 3%. So I would say it's definitely not strict enough.
Chinese AI sensation DeepSeek limited the registration of new users due to large-scale cyber attacks on its services. The company cited large-scale malicious attacks for outages and its inability to take on new users. DeepSeek was developed by a startup based in the eastern Chinese city of Hangzhou. The low-cost Chinese generative AI venture is thought to have matched US companies in its abilities, but at a fraction of the cost. Chinese firm DeepSeek's artificial intelligence chatbot has soared to the top of the Apple Store's download charts. The program has shaken up the tech industry and hit US titans including Nvidia, the AI chip juggernaut that saw nearly $600 billion of its market value raised, the most ever for one day on the Wall Street. Though US stocks and share in chip-making giant Nvidia on Tuesday clawed back some of their losses, American tech shares tanked on Monday, with Nvidia tumbling almost 17% after China's DeepSeek unveiled its R1 chatbot, which it claims can match the capacity of top US AI products for a fraction of their costs. All three major indices on Wall Street finished higher, with Nasdaq Composite rising about 2%, buoyed by a rise in tech stocks, reversing some of its losses from Monday. And time for all the action from the world of sports. World number 6 Novak Djokovic has pulled out of Davis Cup match due to injury. Djokovic was set to represent Serbia against Denmark in Davis Cup first round qualifying tie in Copenhagen from January 31st to February 2nd. Last week, the 24 times Grand Slam champion retired due to a hamstring injury in the Australian Open semi-final match against Alexander Zverev. Djokovic was part of the Serbian team which lifted the Davis Cup in 2010. World chess champion Gukesh has become the sole leader after he beat Luc Meldonca in the 9th round of the Tata Steel chess tournament in the parts of Netherlands. He clinched his 4th win of the tournament in just 43 moves. Gukesh, who became the youngest World Chess Championship in Singapore last month, has secured 6.5 points from a possible 9. Gukesh's next 4 opponents include 2 Dutchmen. He will also face a stern challenge from the last year's defending champion, Wei Yi. In other stories, Jagi Road Dry Fish Market is the largest dry fish market in Asia, located in Morigaon district of Assam. It was established in the year 1940. Dried fish from this market is distributed to nearly all the northeastern states and is also exported to Bhutan, Malaysia and other South Asian countries. Here's more by Mamita Biswas from Assam.
We are at the largest and the biggest dry fish market of Asia. So welcome to the dry fish market of Jagi Road in Assam. What began as a humble Sunday market in the early 1940s has now become a lifeline for many, connecting the northeast and beyond through its trade in dry fish. Established to cater the local needs, this market saw exponential growth when states like Meghalaya, Nagaland, Tripura and Manipur entered the trade. Its strategic location makes it the largest dry fish market in Asia. Fish from across the country, including West Bengal, Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh, comes to this market, providing livelihood to the people in the region. Operating 3 days a week, the market houses over 170 shops and directly supports around 1,500 individuals. This market's reach isn't limited to India.
पूरा नॉर्थ ईस्ट में मतलब शिलोंग, जुआई, मणिपुर, सिलचर, करीमगंज।
नॉर्थ ईस्ट से बाहर भी जाते हैं मछली?
हाँ, सिर्फ बांग्लादेश जाता है।
कितने प्राइस से कितना तक प्राइस का मछली होता है?
70 से लेके कभी 500 तक, मतलब हाईएस्ट हो जाएगा तो 400, 450, 500, कभी साल में बाई चांस, क्योंकि इसका कोई मतलब फिक्स प्राइस नहीं है कि इसी रेट में होगा, क्योंकि दूसरी जगह जो एमआरपी है इस पर कोई एमआरपी नहीं है।
This market provides livelihood not just for us here, but for people across the northeast and beyond. The products we sell here are distributed to states like Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur, Meghalaya and Arunachal Pradesh. If you love dry fish, then this is a dry fish ocean for you. Market like this also provide a daily livelihood generation for the people of Assam. So if you are visiting Assam and if you love dry fish, then do visit the Dry Fish Jagi Road Market. With camera person Pankaj, this is Mamita Biswas for DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.